Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much to the chairperson for the kind introduction. So I would like to take this opportunity before I start my presentation to congratulate the Malaysian Healthy Aging Society for convening their 10th Malaysian Hybrid Conference on Healthy Aging 2021, and also to thank the scientific committee and the chairperson for inviting me to join you in this exciting conference. For these sessions, I'll be talking about optimizing healthy aging, facilitating social engagement. Now, in response to concerns about aging population, the World Health Organization included social participation as a key element of its policy framework. And social participation is highly appreciated by elderly and usually provides self-satisfaction. Moreover, doing some volunteer jobs which can be considered as part of social participation can provide free services and develop a better community environment. So social participation can be considered as a health determinant and a key outcome measures for the health of the elderly. Therefore, it is not surprising that social engagement has been a key component of many successful aging frameworks and the focus of many research worldwide. So allow me to present two items for these sessions. So we would like to understand, I think, why social connections and engagements are so important for well-being. And last but not least, what are those ideas and inspiration for us to connect with others, especially now in the COVID-19 pandemic, where isolation happens not only among the older people, but among all the publics, the youngsters who has not been able to socialize due to the pandemic. So let's look at what is social engagement. Now, social engagement has been defined as referring to making social and emotional connections with people and community. And it is actually related not only to social integration, but also it refers to being social support and social interaction, all which, like we know, are talking about psychological well-being. And this can influence the health of the person. So in social engagement, we're not talking about social relationship where we have interpersonal relationship, including with our families, members, and friends. We also are talking and referring to formal organizational involvement, such as doing voluntary work or going to be involved in religious activities. Now, active and relative social leisure, such as going to the cinemas, going to concerts, having makan-makan outside, and taking part in sports are all social leisure activities that can contribute to social engagement. And there is also some very passive and relatively solitary leisure activities, such as watching television, listening to radio, or reading books can also have some form of social engagement, even though it's relatively solitary. So these social connections and well-being, how are they linked? Now, there has been a lot of research that actually demonstrate that there's a well-established link between loneliness and both mental and physical health. Now, a lot of research has found that lonely people, in comparison to their non-lonely counterparts, are more likely to report symptoms of depression, and they tend to be admitted to hospital more frequently and have double the risk of obesity and have higher blood pressure and a greater risk of heart attack. Now, all this has been reported by Capio 2014 and Victor 2012 that actually analyzed looking at social relationships and health. Now, the others paper like Nyquist et al. In 2013 and Pate 2014 have actually again emphasized that social connections are closely linked to our physical and mental well-being. And having someone to talk to and support is very important for you and me. because we know that older people who remained connected with others and have strong relationship are likely to report better quality of life, more satisfaction with their life, have delayed progression of dementia and mental decline, and in the end need less domestic support and enjoy greater independence. So this study was done in 2011, and it actually is a big study that follow out over 1,000 persons without dementia for up to 12 years. And at the end of the 12 years, they found that any 1 point increase in social activity scoring associated with nearly 50% decrease in the decline in global cognitive function. And this rate of global cognitive decline was actually reduced by an average of nearly 70% among the people who are frequently socially active compared to people who are infrequently social active. So that actually demonstrates the importance of having social activity, even though, in people that start off without dementia. So why do we actually emphasize so much about social engagement? Now, as we all go through life, there's a lot of changes. So some of the major life changes and personal losses like retirement, which can be a forced retirement or unplanned retirement, or even redundancy, moving house, the death of a partner, a close friend, can actually have a very significant effect on our social connections, which can result in feeling of loneliness. And this has been reported since 2009 by Russell and also Fine and Spencer. So this has been well documented that those are the things that can actually change our social engagement pattern. So what happened in 2015 was that MCHA et al. Actually did a systematic review looking at 10 studies, and out of those 10 studies focusing on how older people have their health and also their lifestyle, how is actually engaged on these two domains. And they found that out of those 10 studies, 3 studies focus on if you improve social activity, that seems to have a better health status measures. So how do we stay connected? Now, we can stay connected or reconnecting with our friends, our family members, or carriers or services. And using social networks will help us to bridge generation gaps, because as we all know, the youngsters are all into IT. So using internet also to find activities and events can help us to stay connected. Now, attending face-to-face computer and internet training will help the older people not only to learn new skills, but also to meet new people. And that actually widen their social circles, and that actually lead to better connections at the end of the day. But however, we also realize that there can be some barriers that actually prevent people from actually networking or to participate socially or engage socially. And some of those reported barriers are disability and frailty. It has been reported that if you have more disability and increased frailty and a fear, it actually affects your social engagement and also your networking. Now, there's also been reported about there's a lack of knowledge. Some people doesn't know where to go to, or there's absolutely not even having suitable transportation, even if they want to do it. And the last but not least, attitude and perceptions. As we all know that culturally, we have this feeling is that we are getting on, aging. So we are very worried about actually going out. So those perceptions and attitude about so difficult to do it can prevent the older people from participating or engaging in society. So how do we actually tackle this? How do we actually facilitate this engagement? And one of them is obviously we need to think about how to increase networking, how to improve participation. and how to explore communication as a tool to increase social participation. I always personally felt that the more information and the improved health literacy of our public, this will actually help us to build up awareness and also help to actually engage them in participating in society. So the increased awareness of community service is also very important, especially for the older people. Supporting informal caregivers are also very important because they are the bridge to the older people. So if we support the caregivers and educate the caregivers, well, they will actually be our advocate to encourage the older people to actually be more confident in venturing out to engage socially. So we can have volunteers or peers to actually facilitate forming these new social contacts. And of course, like I highlighted, transportation, that some people want to go out, but they are restricted because they do not have a transportation. So in a way, we have to think about improving our transportation initiative, providing free buses, which are actually wheelbound friendly, because a lot of our older people may not be able to mobility may be affected. So supporting is very important, and having some funding providers. Of course, all these social engagement may have some financial implication because we need to provide the support and the resources. So what we can do is basically, you and I, we have to support peer groups to maintain connections digitally. We have to ensure that as healthcare professionals, we provide clear information to people, to our older people, how to use internet, and to encourage our younger people to help their older relatives. And also encourage people greater awareness about how this engagement can have an impact on their mental well-being. So what we can do also is to encourage people to find activity they can, they enjoy, start an old hobby or take a class so that they can have fun and they can meet people with a similar interest, and actually plan each day to actually have a timetable to stay in touch with family, friends, neighbors, either in person or digitally. You can use the email, the social media, the voice call, or even WhatsApp text. So these are actually things that actually we can encourage our older people to use to encourage the social participation. So another thing is also encourage them to talk with people they trust so they can share their feelings of isolations or feeling of anxiety. And you can always talk with them to have an activity, discuss with our older people what activity will help them, what will interest them, so that we can nurture and strengthen such activity, and also the relationships that's involved in this activity. Now, sending letters or cards is also another good way to keep people in contact so that they will not be always alone. And that is very important in that sense. Now, using communication technology is now no longer a luxury, especially with the COVID pandemic. It's actually a necessity already that you need to actually teach or guide our older people on how to use communication technologies, how to use smartphones, how to even use companion robots to help them to keep engaged and connected. Now, if they are not so tech savvy, we can actually encourage them or show them where they can actually sign up or enroll in an online or in person if it is open for any of those classes, whether it's in the library or in the community center, who can actually guide them on how to use the social media as a source to maintain social engagement. So we should not also forget that the best classroom in the world is at the feet of an elderly person. So by actually engaging them in the teaching learning of the young generation can also be one of the way to maintain the social engagement, and this indirectly also make them feel very useful because they are contributing. So these are things that actually we could actually encourage our elder people to be involved in. So I would like actually to conclude this presentation with a video that is I pick up from the YouTube. So let's relax, sit back and enjoy. It is about 9 minutes video.
If you talk to someone that has recently moved, started a new job, or retired, and ask them what they miss most about their past situation, one of the most common answers is that they miss the people that were in their life. What that actually means is that they miss the social connections or relationships that they had with those people. Social connections or social interactions with other individuals is crucial to mental health, which in turn is crucial to overall health. The lack of social connections has shown to increase stress hormones, weaken the immune system, and lessen cardiovascular functions. People who are lonely tend to consume more alcohol, exercise less, have less quality sleep, and fatigue easily. Social relationships allow you to share your achievements and have support when times are tough. Imagine achieving a long-term goal you had. What's the first thing you want to do? Tell someone, of course. Or imagine if something terrible happens. Not having someone to lean on and talk to can make that event linger and make you feel even more isolated. Giving support in relationships can actually be more beneficial than receiving support. When someone shares something positive in their life with you, it's a compliment. They wanted you to be a part of their success, and they know that you have a sincere interest in their life. And when someone shares a tragedy in their life, you know they really trust you, and they're looking to you to help them through this difficult time. Now, some social relationships can be bad. A person that is constantly negative and has a poor outlook can bring you down and cause stress, making that relationship toxic. Someone that always talks about themselves and makes all of your interactions about them, well, that's not really a social connection. In that case, you're just an audience member in their one-person show on how wonderful their life is. Poor marital or poor relationship quality can also weaken the immune system and erode physical health. Dealing with stress from a poor relationship can lead to over-consuming food or alcohol, smoking, or taking medications to deal with the stress, which in turn can damage systems in the body. Connections through social media can be beneficial by allowing you to stay in touch with friends and family. However, social media connections are not a good alternative for face-to-face, in-person contact, and too much time spent on social media can lead to more isolation and a greater feeling of loneliness. It's a good practice to use social media in moderation. To be healthy, we need people in our lives. It doesn't need to be 5,000 Facebook friends, and we don't have to have everyone like us. Having strong social relationships with just a few people is fine. A few people that we can share life's good and bad moments with, a few people that we can connect with on a regular basis with no stress and no judgments. A few people who accept us for who we are. Surround yourself with good people, folks. Good people.
Thank you very much. I hope that you enjoy the video that just shows in a very simple terms about what are those social connections that you could do and how important it is really to stay connected. And this actually illustrates the importance of your social well-being. We have talked about maintaining healthy aging, and it's not only the dimension of absence of disease. It's also emphasizing to be healthy aging, we also need to maintain our social health. And to maintain social well-being, we need to engage with others so that we won't be isolated and feel lonely. As we all know, lonely and isolation is one of the conditions that actually can lead to multiple problems due to those isolations, which can actually cause a person to be admitted to the hospitals because of lack of interest in their life. By being socially engaged, there will be interest for you and there will be hobbies for you, so that there is actually a push for you to live each day as it come along, fruitfully and also happily. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much to the organizations again, the Malaysian Healthy Aging Organizer, for actually giving me this opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts on healthy aging and social engagement. Thank you and have a nice day.